In 2016, we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Saddle Up. And when you look back at the early history of Saddle Up, the numbers from the beginning tell you how important volunteers are. There were originally 10 students, there were 30 volunteers.
Well, the genesis of Saddle Up really began with another program that most of us were involved in called Animal Land. With the volunteers' interest in horses, that part started growing to a point that Lynn and I thought that it could stand on its own. And after leaving that site, that was really the beginning of Saddle Up.
I did become first involved with a program with Dixie Hall with Animal Land, and it just seemed like the right combination of working with people who had disabilities and horses that I knew very well.
But it was Lynn and I and Charles Crafton, and then Nancy Weinberg was sort of the mother hen of us all.
And 4 people just had a dream they wanted to see happen, to bring together children and horses, because they had seen how powerful a combination that could be. And so they had 10 kids, about 30 volunteers, 1 day, good weather, daylight only, borrowed farm, borrowed horses, borrowed tack. I mean, volunteers would bring horses in.
Then people came out on Saturdays and they started cutting grass and they started working on tack. Our tack was the hand-me-downs of hand-me-downs. And
we borrowed, we begged, almost stole, but we got several horses from Dave Whitaker over at MTSU. He was very kind and gave us tack and horses, just loaning them to us.
The good Lord looked down and the lady said, I have a lovely facility, and it was a world-class facility, and we ended up being able to start there, and we had kids, and the kids seemed to like it, even though we didn't really know all of what we were doing.
As it progressed, we saw that we were outgrowing our facility at Shanwen, which was an excellent facility, but they started getting so many riders and horses, and it was just too crowded. So we went on and started looking for a new place to move to, and we found a little green barn down on 96, and that's where we decided, well, this is going to be our place. We're going to lease it, but we'll have our own little place to do it. We were desperate for money. We were trying every way to raise money. One of our volunteers, her husband, was helping to run Bellevue Center, which was a shopping area here. And they had a program where they were wrapping Christmas presents, and they said, well, why doesn't Saddle Up come in? They can wrap the presents and get the money from that. In the process, one of the men who brought one of those presents in owned this farm in Leapers Fork. So then when we moved here, of course we had a barn in the back. It was an old red barn, and we had some pastures in the back, and that's where we started the program there. We were outside in the sun, the ground was hard as a rock, and we just had all our classes outside and only could have it when there was good weather. We realized we had to have an indoor arena.
But this facility was dreamed up before there was a lot of templates. What does a therapeutic riding program that serves hundreds of kids need? The paramount importance has always been safety, and that is what you see here. That is in the construction of the walls and the walkways, and everything is thought about safety. And when we started out, we tried, but it was just an old barn that needed some help, and we did what we could do.
So there's something about this that does draw. And I like to think of it as our culture, our community, just the fact that we come here and we get to have great experiences and joy.
To be honest with you, like the horses were the initial draw, and then, you know, you come out and you work with the kids and stuff, and so you just kind of get really attached. I'm really attached.
So what I always tell the new volunteers is this is addictive stuff. You get into it, it grabs you, you keep going.
My official title is Equine and Farm Director, but everyone here calls me the Barn Girl.
We cannot do this without volunteers. There is no way, and volunteers are the heart of it. The parents and the volunteers are the heart of it. We wouldn't do it without the kids, we can't do it without the volunteers.
Saddle Up will give back to you everything that you're willing, whatever the amount of effort that you're willing to put in to come out here and volunteer. Saddle Up will give back to you tenfold. It's just, it's a win-win. You can't lose, coming out here. So.
And I think these kids and these students change our lives more than we change theirs. I think everybody's got that backwards, how we're changing. I know they're changing us like every day. They make me believe in what I do.
We had no idea that it would develop to this extent. In our wildest dreams, we never had planned on this. We hoped to serve many more children, but we had no idea we'd be serving, over 200 children at one time.
How do we fund the next step? Nashville's growing 100, 120 people a day. Well, that means there's kids that are continually coming to Nashville that need this. You always hear Nashville is great on, this, that, and the other thing, but what if you have a child that needs what Saddle Up can offer? It's a wonderful blessing to have this in your community, and people will seek it out.
One thing that we really emphasize when we talk about our kids, they're kids. We have to make some adaptations for them to do things here, but too many of them live in a world that's full of can't. You can't do this, you can't do that. That is not Saddle Up. We are the can-do place. You can get your grooming box. You can groom your horse. You can help lead your horse to the mounting block. You can ride this horse. That's what Saddle Up is about. It's a can-do place where we emphasize everything that the child is capable of. And again, we couldn't do anything though. We couldn't do it without the generous support of donors and our volunteers and everyone who comes together and is part of the Saddle Up family that's been here for 25 years. And for 25 years, everything that Saddle Up has had, everything that Saddle Up does and has done is for the kids. It boils down to that. There's no exceptions. Without the kids, we have no reason to exist. But for 25 years, we've brought together one horse and one child at a time and changed lives. But we see this just as a beginning. Saddle Up is the place where all children are equal in the saddle now, and we look forward to celebrating the 50th anniversary 25 years from now as our next big celebration.